Once, a turtle lived in an inland lake, but stayed on the shore most of the time. The turtle always believed that there was no one who could fool him. One day, Nunabuju was walking along the shore when he saw a pike in the water, which he decided to catch. He jumped in but missed the fish, so he thought he would wash his hands and make some soup. He went on and saw someone else in the water. He called out, "Well, my brother, is this where you live?" "Yes," the stranger answered. "This is where I live, and I am the chief." Whereupon Nanabuju said, "I never saw you before." Then the turtle chief said, "Tomorrow I expect to take part in a race, and I am betting my life on it." Nunabuju asked him, "Whom are you going to race?" "I am going to race an elk," said the chief, "and now I am going to get ready." He placed other turtles around the lake and told them what to do, and then he was ready for the race. Nunabuju saw the elk the next morning, and it looked very fat and good to eat. He said to himself, "The turtle will probably give a feast after the race. I will be there and see who will win." Soon they were ready to start. By means of his brother turtles, the chief won, and the elk was beaten. Then the turtle killed the elk. Nunabuju stayed, hoping to get some of this meat, but the turtle said, "I am going to feed all my children, and there will be not enough meat to go around." Whereupon Nunabuju proposed that he should carry the meat home for them. The turtle agreed to this and went home to wait for Nunabuju. Nunabuju, however, took the meat to his own home, and there ate it all. High School Musical is a 2006 Disney Channel original movie directed by Kenny Ortega. Isn't it fun how I usually do horror movies, but in October I stopped doing horror, and on October 30th I put out a video about a Kenny Ortega movie and it's not Hocus Pocus? What kind of YouTuber am I? So High School Musical follows Gabriela Montez, a freaky genius girl.
I don't want to be the school's freaky genius girl again.
And Troy Barnes, the basketball guy.
Sometimes I don't want to be the basketball guy. I just want to be a guy.
The two don't sing, but then they do sing. And you know what? They're pretty good at it. Sharpay and Ryan Evans are the school's best thespians, and singers, and dancers. They're triple threats, baby! So naturally, they just kill it at the auditions for the High School Musical. Troy and Gabriella do not audition, but they do sing some more. And I hope I need not remind you, this is a freaky genius girl and a basketball guy singing. Darbus, the High School Musical director and the only other character of any import, is so taken with these two people singing at a piano that she invites them back for a callback. She calls them back. She calls them back for a callback. But the callbacks are on the same day as the big game and the big science game, which I should mention is because Sharpay somehow convinces Darbus to schedule the callback at the one time that the only other people auditioning couldn't make it, but that doesn't fit my narrative, so I'm just going to move right along. Anyway, Ryan and Sharpay deliver a very competent, although super problematic audition. This movie takes place in Albuquerque, and the first Spanish we hear is
Mucho gusto.
Ay, qué fabulosa!
Also, while we're on the topic, this movie takes place in Albuquerque, and there's one Latina character and absolutely zero native people. Anyway, Troy and Gabriella fail to show up again for their audition. Then when they do get to sing, it's okay. It's pretty good. They didn't have costumes or choreography or props like Sharpay and Ryan, but, you know, they sang good. So naturally, the less experienced, less reliable, and less dedicated singers get the part. And what does the deplorable, evil, manipulative Sharpay Evans have to say about this?
Well, congratulations. I guess I'm going to be the understudy in case you can't make one of the shows, so break a leg.
Well, that makes sense, because High School Musical is a musical that is vaguely about a musical, but it does take place in a high school. And like its convoluted title, High School Musical seems kind of unsure of what it's trying to say. The movie centers around four exceptionally talented children. Ryan and Sharpay are the school's best actors, Troy is the best basketball boy, and Gabriella is a freaky genius girl.
I don't want to be the school's freaky genius girl again.
They've all clearly found what they're good at, and they all spend a ton of time owning their respective skills. But then why does the movie punish Ryan and Sharpay? Sure, they're a little full of themselves, but they are objectively the best at what they do, and they actually show up to the auditions on time.
We take these shows very seriously here at East High. I called for the pairs audition, and you didn't respond. Free period is now over.
And the apparent moral of the movie is something about teamwork? Gabriella and Troy are arguably not team players. They both demonstrate an inability to commit to an extracurricular activity. They pull a stunt which sabotages both the science competition and the basketball game, and they still managed to show up late to the auditions. But one of the most confusing parts of High School Musical is its portrayal of class conflict. There's an attempt to shoehorn a class struggle into High School Musical, but since it's written by capitalists, it totally misses the mark. We're supposed to believe that Sharpay and Ryan are undeserving because they're entitled rich kids, and there's certainly an argument to be made about how their family wealth allows them greater opportunities in education and the arts. But what about Troy and Gabriella? I mean, they met at a ski resort. Troy's family has a basketball court in the backyard, and Gabriella's house has all this lush landscaping out front. This house, this landscaping in Albuquerque, this isn't cheap. We have no reason to believe that Sharpay and Ryan are much wealthier than Troy or Gabriella. Not in this movie, at least. I know Ryan and Sharpay's family own the country club in the sequel, but I'm not talking about the sequel. But if I were, I would definitely fixate on this number, which fits into what is unironically one of my favorite musical tropes. The most masculine men in the show doing a whole lot of singing and dancing while doing a very macho task. But High School Musical isn't literally about the struggle between the working class and the wealthy. It's just an allegory for that struggle. High School Musical doesn't divide its characters by wealth, but rather by political capital. At the start of the film, the four students are all afforded roughly the same amount of political power. They are all exceptionally good at what they do, and as such, they have considerable renown among their peers and even the ruling class. Of course, in a school setting, the ruling class is represented by the faculty. They control the means of production and have influence over the school's policies and enforcement. And the only teacher that matters in this movie is Darbus, so Darbus is the bourgeoisie. High School Musical is ostensibly an underdog story, but our underdogs don't really have a disadvantage. Sure, they're socially discouraged from singing, but they're still able to win their big games and get the big part in the musical. They effectively sacrifice nothing to win. Troy and Gabriella are not really underdogs. They fit into what Karl Marx would call the petty bourgeoisie. They may appear to the common person to be wealthy, although they do not own the means of production, the High School Musical. Meanwhile, Ryan and Sharpay have earned everything they have, again in terms of the High School Musical. They've been in drama club for years. They can sing and act and dance. They have choreography and costumes and arrangements. By the way, I have no idea why this musician student seems so offended that the twins had an arrangement made. This is one of the best songs in the movie, and certainly the most consistent and least racist. Also, you can have both arrangements in the same musical, which they literally do in this exact movie. And I bet if Sharpay can tap in heels, she can kill a piano ballad.
So lonely before I finally found what I've been looking for.
Also, if High School Musical was written in 2020, this composer girl would be bi or pan or non-binary, and I think that's pretty cool. In any case, composing a full musical in high school is super impressive. Let's give it up for Kelsey Nielsen. So anyway, until Troy and Gabriella come onto the scene, Darbus prefers Ryan and Sharpay because they represent the best labor to exploit. And when Troy and Gabriella show up, although they represent a slight decrease in product quality, they have the appearance of populist support. But here's the thing, everyone that is watching Troy and Gabriella is already at the school to support one or both of them. And they didn't even see Ryan and Sharpay perform. They're totally uninformed voters. And the bourgeoisie has effectively disenfranchised everyone who wasn't at the big game or the big science. And why should these two groups get all the electoral say? I bet they don't even represent half of the school. So even if these two groups come to a consensus, there are likely more people who just didn't even show up. Something tells me that if we got a better voter turnout, maybe the unqualified and self-entitled candidates wouldn't have won. I mean, sure, that still leaves us with a corrupt white woman, but at least she's competent at what she does. In any case, it's messed up that only the basketball and science people got to have their voice heard. That'd be like if the 18 million people who make up Alaska, DC, Delaware, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Vermont, Wyoming, Hawaii, Idaho, Maine, New Hampshire, Nebraska, New Mexico, and West Virginia had the exact same electoral power as the 39 million people who live in California. Like, imagine if someone in Wyoming had about 3 times the voting power as someone in California. I mean, that'd be totally But the thing is, even if all the non-voters voted for the objectively better candidate, or even a third party, Darbus would still control the means of production. So, to sum it all up, only a small portion of voters show up, certain groups have a disproportionate electoral advantage, and there are only 2 choices, both of which already have a considerable amount of political power and wealth. And after all this happens, the bourgeoisie are more or less unaffected by the will of the people, since they're ultimately able to continue influencing the elected officials and exploiting labor. At this point, why even pretend there's anything democratic about High School Musical? Troy and Gabriella getting the part in the musical isn't some great underdog story. It isn't a victory for the common person. It's an indictment of the whole damn system. The only way for the wildcat proletariat to reclaim their power is to organize and seize the means of production. So the next time you have the chance to vote, vote for the competent person who has been singing and dancing their whole life. And then once they've got the big part, that's when the real work starts. Wildcats of the world, unite!
We're all in this together. Yes, we are. We're all stars, and we're singing. We're all in this together. We're hey, make our dreams come. We're all in this together.
Oh, hey there. I didn't see you come in. Just kidding. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and one of my compulsions is constantly checking to make sure my doors are locked. If you made it this far, thanks for watching that video. I hope you liked it. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, you can subscribe, you can like, you can comment, let me know, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or support me on Patreon. Don't forget to vote, get your flu shot, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.